Ready? Hey, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Welcome back to another episode of the OPA to OPM podcast. I'm your host, or one of the co-hosts, Daymil, with my co-host, Alex Markel. What's going on?
What's bragging?
What's going on, man? We have another dope episode. Another dope episode. We have a very, very dope guest today. Honestly, I gotta wear as many hats. Financial literacy coach. You're in real estate development. You're in business funding. Did I see credit repair as well?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Like, what don't you do?
I'm not a plumber.
That's a bad, but he's an electrician. Nah, man. What's going on? We have Joel Marcelin today. How you feeling, bro?
Man, listen, I'm good, man. Thank you, fellas, for having me.
Thank you for coming out. Thank you for coming out, man. Man, How long ago did we meet? About what? 3 years ago?
About 3 years ago.
Gathering spot. Right?
Yes, sir.
Man, that was a dope experience. That's a dope experience. All right, so Joel, like, tell us about yourself, like where you're from and what made you get into, or what was the first thing that you did? You know.
Yeah, I mean, thank you again. But yeah, so right after college, I'm gonna jump right into it. I kind of got into the finance industry pretty soon. Like, at 18, I was working for a mortgage company as a loan filer. Okay. So I was definitely interested in knowing more about interest rates, knowing more about, appraisals and stuff like that. But of course, that wasn't my niche. Mm-hmm. But right after college, finance definitely, I was intrigued by it. Right. But backing up a little bit, from a family that came from Haiti. We was unfortunate of a lot of things. So I saw my dad always hustling. Right. So if there's anybody that had to inspire me, it was definitely my father. He never complained. He's like what you call a serial entrepreneur, right? But not only that, he was like a pastor, still having like several churches, but still hustling on the side. Because of course, a lot of pastors these days, they don't get paid. Right. So he had to figure out ways to make the bread. Mm-hmm. So kind of started working from him, family business and so forth. But right after I, got out of college, I got into the banking industry really quick. I kind of, started from the, like as a personal banker and then moved my way up. So now I'm 14 years in the game. So, yeah, thank you. Work for, 5 different, top financial industries. So I've learned a lot. I made a lot of great connections, and that's how I kind of, got started in the finance industry. Mm-hmm. But it all ties up for what I do, right? Most people, I tell them, like, banks are very conservative nowadays. For instance, clients would come in and say, hey, start a business. I need $200K. But most banks, they're not going to lend you the money if you're not making at least minimum $100K of revenue or been in business for 2 years. You're not a qualified candidate. Right. So it left a lot, especially our peoples, without options. Mm. So a lot of majority business was started during the pandemic. And of course, most of the people didn't last 4 months. Mm-hmm. So now the biggest issue people, come across is funding, is getting access to the capital. Right. So I had to find ways to not only reach out to our community, but reach out to a variety of different type of people.
Okay, that's dope.
So, quick question. I guess we're going to dive right into like the content and everything. Why is business funding so important? Like, why can't you just bootstrap your way up? Start finding clientele and stuff like that, and then just kind of start a business and work it that way.
I mean, to be honest with you, when it comes to business, there's a lot of perks to it, right? I'm not going to jump into the tax purpose alone. That's by itself. Mm-hmm. But as far as I'll make a simple example. We talk about like credit. It's very important nowadays. Mm-hmm. We talk about utilizations, 30%. If you have a credit card, don't max it out and so forth. Mm-hmm. But you could have a business credit card and you can max it out. It doesn't affect your personal. Wow. So a lot of these business owners, we help them get access to those fundings. So not only are they able to keep their business on, flowing, but they also could use it towards some personal issues, personal things that they need to. But it's definitely important. And plus, nowadays, everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, especially during the pandemic. A lot of people lost their, their job. What's next? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So,
okay, that's dope. That's dope. You said that you saw like your pops like hustle. Is that like where like that a mentality of I gotta make it by any means come from?
Yeah. No, absolutely. Because he told me never get comfortable. Mm-hmm. All right, never depend on somebody to lend you a hand. But a lot of people from the Caribbean, they have that personality is that we got to grind. Because not only was he taking care of home, but he's also taking care of home back home. So people depend on you.
Right.
And that's how I kind of saw it. And then, of course, being a father, at an early age, now I got other lives that's depending on me. So I didn't know anything else but the grind. It was no complaining, just do what we got to do to make it to the next meal.
Okay, that's dope. That's dope, bro.
I think that's a good point. Is that a lot of people just try to start making excuses like, I can't hustle as hard because I got mouths to feed. I gotta do this. I gotta do this, and I gotta study or something like that. But like to have somebody on who's actually going through it, has had a child or multiple children, I don't know, at a young age and still found a way to go through that process. It's like, look, I still need to go harder and hustle harder. But some people actually find motivation in that. Like when they have something external outside of them, it forces them to kind of go in a different direction. Is this something that you always saw yourself doing? Is like the path that you're on right now?
I mean, to be honest, as a kid, we all want to be a superhero, right? Or a firefighter or a cop. But when that's all you know, that's all you really kind of know. But then it kind of just became a passion. That's why, one question my mentor asked me is that if you had to do what you do for free, would you do it? And I love helping people. When you can help somebody to save their business by having, hey, all I need is this $10,000 just to keep my door open, until I figure out when the next invoice coming, it hits harder. It's more rewarding to me, in that sense. Or helping somebody get their credit where they need to so they can get the home that they want, right? To get access to the funding or get the car that just, it may not be like something crazy, but just to gather their whole family and take them to the next trip, So that's why it drives me to do what I do.
Okay.
My bad, yeah. Oh, yeah. I was going to ask, so we touched on the credit portion and the business funding portion. Now you're talking about the credit portion. So talk a little bit about your journey into like credit and understanding credit, fixing credit, and everything that you're like understanding about credit.
Yeah, absolutely. The credit part is because I became my own guinea pig, right? We was never educated about credit. I mean, tell me, if y'all went to school, did y'all take, credit 101?
Of course not.
In college? Neither of us.
And even the stuff that my parents taught me was only like, I thought it was half of the game. Right now, it seems like it's only 25% of the game.
That's facts. That's facts. And the worst part of it, when I started to figure out about credit is when I went to look at my credit report, and then coming to find out my parents had a cable bill in my name, right? So of course they didn't know, they wasn't educated about it. So, but they knew enough to like, hey, let's use one of our child's credit because he could get us what we need. But now I had, messed up credit, right? Just off the bat. So I had to figure out, how to get my credit right by working on my own self. I did it twice because the first time I did it, then of course you get excited to get some credit cards, you blew it off. Right. I figured it out. But then I started doing some family members. I was like, oh, snap. If I could do this for me, I could help a couple other people out. But everything just kind of happened by word by mouth. People started saying, hey, listen, man, this guy could really help you. And I've been, learning the game, teaching, especially with the bank. I do a lot of financial, literacy classes, educate people about credit, why credit is important. The simplest things that, you don't know, but just educating people about it.
I got one real quick. What do you say to the person that is very skeptical on going to somebody to get their credit fixed? It's like, oh, I see these fix your credit here and get a 800 credit score in the next 30 days kind of person. And they're like, nah, that's always a scam. It's always a scam kind of thing. What do you say to that person who's just very skeptical on reaching out for helping and fixing their credit?
All the time. I find that. But first I have sympathy, understanding like why they would be scared. Because I was one of those. Those individuals would be scared. But I asked them questions like, what makes you so skeptical about it? And then I would just use a simple analogy. I said, listen, let's think about this as a mechanic. Can we all agree there's good mechanics and bad mechanics? Right?
Yes.
So if you went to get your oil change and it wasn't done right, would that tell you never go get an oil change in your car? They'd be like, no. But even better, can you change your own oil in your car? You can. Yeah. If you think about it, now you could go to YouTube and figure it out. It's just the same thing with credit. You could do it your own self. But why do you go to a professional? Right? Because not only that they will fix the issue, but they will see things that you did not see. They were like, you know what? Your timing belt is actually is wearing out for the next 3,000 miles. Or you might need some new wipers. So when I sit down and do a consultation with my clients, just the first 30 minutes, I'm not even charging them $1, but they find value that they could do on their own. They're like, why are you giving me so much gain? I said, I don't want to do it for you. I want you doing your own. But once they see like, yo, you know what you're talking about, just by educating them, they be like, yo,
automatic close.
Automatic close.
Yeah, and that's what you just did. There's something called kitchen table logic. Like it's if you're a salesman, you know, like you're gonna close them every time off that. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I just show them the value. You know why? And I say, listen, you don't have to hire me, but I will because my ultimate goal is to reach out to the community. If you could do it on your own, you know, and best believe it. And sometimes they say, I'll call you back, but I would say 9 out of 10 they always reach back.
People like to pay for convenience.
That's it. That's what we pay for. It's convenience. But of course, I would say a lot of clients that I get is they had a bad experience, you know, or they even a little skeptical. Everybody's doing it nowadays, which is why I don't promote it as much. You know, it's usually word by mouth because people would trust you when they see it, if they see an ad, you know. Unless you're a top influencer, and of course, that's a different situation.
Right. Yeah. Right. So you say you have a mentor. I'm not sure if you have multiple mentors, but how did you find your mentor, and what value has he brought to you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I actually got a couple of mentors. Basically, in every aspect or my career, like for banking, I have a banking mentor. I have a real estate mentor, you know. That's how we kind of connected, you know.
Right.
And it was a real estate thing that was going on, and that's how we kind of met Ray at that time. So everybody, that's a different story for a different day, right? Exactly. But yeah, I have multiple mentors in, you know, whatever I'm doing. But how I was able to, you know, I tell people you have to pay for game. You know, it's an investment. It's their time. It's their knowledge. It's their connections. And then sometimes I had to pay thousands of dollars just so, you know, I can get access. You see what I'm saying? So even with the credit game, I mean, I don't want to throw the name out there, but I have one of the biggest, you know, influencers. When I say he's super goated, he's super goated. Haitian CEO.
Yeah, he's dope. He's dope.
Oh, Dion Cooper. Oh, yeah. I know him. He's very good. Yeah. So a lot of these guys are very connected. And I said, you know, he'll say, "Hey, come to Philly right now. We're gonna have dinner. Let's just talk."
Like that.
Oh yeah, he's just pouring into me, or say, you know, I'm gonna put you, you know, in contact with my plug, so you can just pour into the DMV. You know what I mean? So that's what it takes. Sometimes is for you to spend some bread, so you can get access. You know what I mean?
Information is more important.
Exactly. So
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I definitely, you know, believe in mentorship. So
okay. So you get out of college and you go into the financial industry. What brought you into the real estate and development industry, and like what was it that drew you into that field?
That's a good question. One of the roles that I played was I'm trying to remember, it was a relationship manager, home specialist. Yeah, it was a long ass title. But what I was doing a lot of HELOCs.
Okay.
So from doing a lot of HELOCs, of course, I was.
For those who don't know, what is a HELOC?
It's a home equity line of credit, which I'm a great advocate of it. You know, I don't think you don't necessarily have to be in a situation to use it, but I could always go in more details about that. But it's basically someone that's borrowing equity from their home, right? And they use it for basically any purpose. It's some people use it just to get their kid through college because the rates on those home equities is a lot much cheaper. So doing that, when they would come in, clients would come in, they would bring me their taxes. At that point, I started finding a passion for the mortgage industry, learning more about it, meeting different investors. So that right there was what intrigued me to say, you know what, I want to know more about, you know, the real estate. But of course, you know, real estate is very, you know, broad.
Right.
There's so many sectors. And I think I kind of tried the Airbnb. I did the rental. I did, you know, fix and flip. I actually got a couple of fix and flip property I'm, you know, going to see tomorrow. And I just started dabbling on some commercial space, you know, just to kind of find my niche a little bit more, or find something that I really, you know, strongly I'm rocking. But really what I've been doing is more fix and flips. Okay. But it came from a title, you know, at the bank that led me to have a passion to now say, you know what, the real estate that's where it's at. Right. You know? That's what led me there.
Okay. So what was your, I guess, so what intrigues you about fix and flips? Like, why did you choose that to be like your main avenue as to move forward with in real estate?
I love the fact that it's in and out. Of course, there's a lot of scares. Right. There's a lot of risks that you take. But I think when I first started my first real estate deal, it was actually a rental property. I did not enjoy being a landlord.
Really?
I am still a landlord right now because I have 2 properties in Baltimore. But you hear all these horror stories. Yeah, you go through a lot. I did the Airbnb thing out in Houston.
Right.
That was a partnership deal. I don't know why I went with it. I knew it wasn't the best market from where we was at. We was like in Katy, Texas.
Okay.
But my partner, of course, when you work in partnership, you're just trying to have everybody get a chance to get a feel for it. But I said, hey, we should be in mid-Texas, central, where, you're not that far from the airport. And it was a new bill at that. It was a new bill. We didn't get much friction, with that. But luckily, we sold right on time. That's what helped us. And then from that point on, I said, you know what? I'd rather just get a home, if I need to do a little reno and get it off my hands. So,
okay.
I think that's another major point that you touched on is that a lot of people, especially younger people, like the younger audience, is we think that we're going to do one thing, and then it's like, nah, maybe that ain't it. Let me pivot.
Correct.
And then you got to keep pivoting into different directions, and you're just like, I think this is it. How did you know that, or if you're still pivoting, how do you know when there's something that's right for you?
Going back to his question, is finding the right mentor. Because at some point I lost a passion for it, and I was thinking in my head like, this ain't it. This is not for me. But when he's like, hey, maybe this part of real estate is not for you, but there's other avenues that you may be able to look into. And so he just helped me to have more of an open mind to the process and connecting, to the right people. And of course, that's why I was like, okay, well, I had a little success. So it's not, it's not too bad. But it comes with personal development too. I do a lot of, I started doing a lot of, podcasts, listening to podcasts, doing a lot of reading. Because they say once the mind expands, it can't confirm back.
You're investing back into yourself.
Exactly. So I listen to a lot of real estate podcasts, like I do a lot of driving. So I call my car the mobile university, right? So as I'm learning, I'm listening to I'm like, man, I'm not the only person that had failures. The top people like the Grant Cardones, those top people, they had more failures than success. Right. So I said, who am I not to be able to continue to, keep pushing. Right. It was more on that sense.
So hold on, to speak on it, how old are you, by the way?
37.
For real?
Yeah, I get that a lot.
You are age, bro.
Yeah, I get it a lot. I get it a lot. They say black don't crack.
You said, I want to touch on some of those failures. Like, so what would you say was your number one failure, and what was something you like?
Not even failure, just your learnings. The number one learnings.
We was about to get to that.
My fault.
And then what was the value or lessons that you learned from that? Number one.
Okay, and like in the real estate or just in general?
In general, because you're a businessman, so I want.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, we've had a lot of failures, right? I'm trying to see where I could actually pinpoint, but
what's that number one joint that just come to your mind that you like? That one did get me, but I definitely learned a lot from it.
Yeah, it was probably more in the banking industry. I think that's where a lot of the failures, started happening, because then I became a small business consultant. So that's when I started working with some, bigger deals like, $200,000, $300,000 deals. One of my biggest things is that I get attached too much to the results. And I felt that I was going about 4 months trying to help a client close a deal. If not, they was going to lose the restaurant. Right. So at that point, I took it personal. And when a client looks at you and depending on you, say, man, listen, they put it out. I'm like, bro, like put your trust in Jesus, man, not in me. But I felt the pressure, and I think that's when I said, man, I got you. Maybe that's where I probably misled him too. I had every partner involved. It felt good, but sometimes it's just beyond us. And when you have an underwriter that's like, yo, we can't move it. Yeah. How do you, it didn't feel right to go to the client and say, I'm sorry. And for the client to cry on my desk and, man, I'm losing my restaurant, man. I think that was one of the biggest things that kind of hit me. And say, dang, like, how do I prepare for a situation like that when I feel like, because I always felt like I had control. Right. But of course, hitting a, pinnacle position, now you're part of the big dogs, you're connected. Now they're depending on you. Just like a little bit tough to, but now just better prepare for it. Asking the right probing questions. Just make sure you're not misleading anybody and just getting all the ducks in a row before. Because sometimes their taxes not right, for instance. Yeah. I might say, listen, before you come to me, go to a CPA. get this right, because once the bank look at it, I could automatically see it's going to get denied. Go get your credit right. Go get certain things in place. Then we can make sure we could revisit it to make sure now, we at the right spot.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I was going to ask, what are some of your top reasons that you're seeing or saw why somebody would get denied, or like, why is that process so long drawn out? If their taxes or this ain't right, ain't that something where you can just, or an underwriter can see like, oh no, go on.
Yeah. Now I've had built relationship with the underwriters, so they share more. Banks are very discreet. They don't give you, even us as bankers, they don't share much information. You could even see if someone applied for a credit card, they're very vague. They're like, too many accounts, but then they're not gonna tell you how many accounts that you have to the reason why they denied you. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Or they might say, hey, whatever, derogatory. Tell me what was derogatory to you that I can get it fixed. But a lot of times, me having a personal relationship, they can say, hey, listen, is that Amex card that they have? It's maxed out, whatever that is. But now learning credit, before I do the, submitting everything, I say, let's look at everything, because I know credit's going to be a factor. They're going to look at your financials. They see everything, the whole nine, And if y'all know, if you ever bought a home, they looking at everything, even your draws. You feel me? Right. So they're going to have to detail. So the same things. And now with banks being extra conservative, because there's been a lot of failure, I just make sure I prepare a lot of people. But credit is one of the biggest things. Right. I see a lot of people don't get through the door. And of course, their finance is not in place.
So if someone has their credit not good, or their finances aren't in order, a lot of people would be like, look, it's a wrap for me. It's going to take me 3 to 5 years to get down, to get to where I need to be. Is that a misnomer, or is it something that can be done relatively sooner?
There's options, and there's ways that they can expedite it. It all depends where to pinpoint, right? Going back, there's other stuff that I offer too as products, to help clients enhance or expedite, better way to say, their situation. I had a client coming to find out his credit was like a 620. But coming to find out, he didn't have any derogatories. He's never been late on any payments. He had a good mix. So he had a mortgage. He had a, auto. What was the issue? He maxed out all his credit cards, right? So in most cases, people are like, well, figure it out and do it. But I was able to help him get back in almost less than 30 days, right? Because I was able to provide him trade lines. Yeah. So I got him exactly enough. Exactly. Because, and there's other options for that too. So with the trade lines, we had to make sure his utilization, for my clients, I was aiming for 20%, right? But of course, the rule of thumb is 30. Yeah. So I had to make sure his utilization was right where it was at. And immediately once we brought the utilization where it was at, he shot up over 700 points.
So it's something where as soon as the credit looks right and the finances are right, like that next day, it's like, go ahead and do it.
Oh yeah. There's options.
So there's no waiting period for that.
There's banks like that will fund you. I got clients that brand new business, as long as you got the 680 and up, they'll give you at least 50 bands, 50 to 100 bands. So there's money out there, but you got to go to the right people.
Chase giving away 75. Right?
Yeah.
So what would you say to somebody who's never come across that amount of money? Like, what's the first thing that they should invest in? Whether it be in themselves or another product or something, but someone gets an approval for 50,000, 75,000, 100,000. That's more money than most people have seen ever. And now they have this big heaping piece of money or in their account. What would you like? What's your recommendation to that kind of person?
Being in the banking industry, I would definitely say seek a financial advisor. And then explain your goals. I've seen it all the time when people get the money, they get too happy and they blow it out, right? They get a few tables at a club, it's gone, So, but I say it's to be educated. That's one of the pieces that I add to my clients as well. Once you get his 50 bands, what are you going to do to pay it back? Because now you're going to have payments. You don't want to fall in the same predicament, right? Like, how are we going to get you a game plan? A lot of times, we would do certain things like, hey, maybe you might want to dip dabble in some real estate. Like, let's start with, put $20,000 away, because, sometimes if you're doing a hard money, they ask you for 20%, situation like that. Correct. I don't talk more about the stocks much. I leave that to the advisors, because especially if I'm not, fully licensed in that part. But there's so many, avenues you can definitely take to invest, and then you make your money work harder for you.
Okay. Being a banker, and you also do private investing as well.
Correct.
So what are the differences between what you looking for when you're looking to fund or someone, and what the bank looking for? Is there a major difference between what you look for and the bank look for?
Correct. The banks is a little bit more strategic.
Okay.
Right. So they go down to every details. It has to make sense fully. I'm trying to see how I could explain that. Let's say you're asking the bank for $100,000, right? Of course, credit is a huge factor for them. Your credit got to be like A1, depending if you go to the top banks. Credit unions are a little bit more flexible, right? But of course, they want you to have a relationship with them now. Most banks will deny. You can have an 800 credit score. I've seen people deny because the fact you didn't have account with $100.
Is that what a relationship means?
Yeah, like bro, just like over a 4 week span, just put $25 in that jank each week.
So each week over 4 weeks, just put $25 in it, and then what?
You have a relationship with the bank.
That's it. That's a relationship.
So on that fifth week,
go get funded.
Basically, you invested in us, so now we feel comfortable investing in you.
I've had people have had an 850 score come to my institution I work for and get denied because the bank just said, "I don't trust you. I've seen that you've had other banks. I don't know if you're going to be loyal to us."
Yeah.
It's just one of the things. It's just like dating somebody.
It's like a relationship.
You pick and choose. But I've seen other people have a 640, but they may had a auto loan years ago or an account years ago, and they said, "Well, you had a relationship with us. We feel comfortable with you." So that's what I'm saying. There's certain little details that banks look at, which is not a huge concern for us. And of course, they want to check your finance to make sure that you are have the ability to pay for it, right? And plus, different bank products have different rates, So, but when someone comes to me and say, "Hey, Joel, I need 100,000," credit may not be as a factor. It's more of your collateral, right? It's more if you have any capital. Do you have any reserves? And sometimes they might have a home that's paid off. I can use that as collateral and put a UCC filing towards it in case you're trying to run with the money. Now your home is now mine. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So now your credit is not much of a factor. It's certain little things, criteria that we look at that we can, or if I found a lot of real estate investors, they come to me. How many deals have you done? Are you just new at doing this, or are you a seasoned investor? I'll feel more comfortable with someone that's invested, did 5 flips than someone that say, "No, I'm just gonna figure it out."
Right.
The story has to make sense, but it's not as challenging. And of course, our rate will be higher, and the term is a little bit much shorter.
Right.
That's the thing.
What do you mean by term?
With the banks, like for instance, they can, they can say, "Hey, we'll give you a 30-year mortgage." Even if you was doing a real estate, fix and flip or whatever that you choose to do, because banks don't even do hard money, right?
Right.
But you can come to me as an investor or a hard money lender. They say, "Listen, I'll give you," but now, a lot of hard money starts to stretch it. But a lot of times, certain deals, it depends how much they want. I say, "Listen, I'll give you 16 months. Well, I'll give you 10 months.
16 months is the term, basically.
Yeah.
So the term is overall the amount of time that you have to pay the money back.
Correct.
Okay.
So our term is much shorter, but it just have to make sense. And sometimes they have to have contract in hand, depending what they're trying to do, just to make sure if that's the route we want to take.
Okay. Oh, that's dope. So when you say, would you consider yourself a hard money or private money lender?
So I work with hard money, but more of a private.
Okay.
Can you explain the difference for the folks?
They're almost similar. For
instance. But hard money, I'll let you explain it. But from my experience, hard money is they're banks, but it's just not one of the bigger banks, right?
Correct.
But private money can be anyone. You could be a private lender.
Correct.
Alice can be a private lender. I could be a private lender.
Correct.
I got $3.
No, but you'll be surprised. You can still be a private investor and not even have $1. It's your connections. So when I started as a private lender, I didn't have the asset to lend anyone. But I knew someone that had $1 million. I knew another person that had $1 million. Remember, from my relationship with the bank.
Right.
People come to me and say, "Well, I got $1 million. My money's not making anything." Right? Of course, a little more discreet. How can I make my money work for itself? Like pennies on my $1 million not making nothing. Well, they say, "Listen, if you know any opportunities for me, now I just build a roll of decks."
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just build a roll of decks. So now I'm sitting in the game with $2 million, but that's not my money.
Exactly.
But understand, once I help somebody close say I need 100,000, I'm going to charge my fee So I'm making money off their money.
Yeah.
So is there a title that you get, or do you just self say like, all right, I'm a private lender kind of thing?
Once you start lending, you just become a lender. You don't have to really go to the bank and, regulate everything, to say, oh, I'm considered. But I mean, I consider myself a broker because I'm pretty,
About to say it's more like a middleman.
It's more of the middleman, just helping deals close. But I have now, several investors that call me, like, even when they want deals, they say, Joel, listen, let's run it back, And I said, listen, how much you trying to put out? And they said, listen, I got $250 to pay with. You got anybody? Listen, someone called me. They're working on a drop ship. They trying to expand. Right. They got declined from the bank. People that's reaching out to me is usually people that's already been declined from the bank.
Okay.
You follow what I'm saying?
Right.
Because they already know that. So now when I said 15%, what you gonna do? What's your options now? The bank declines you. I'm your only option.
Right.
But they got to make sense.
So, because actually, I have a guy right now who is they're looking for funding, and he's like, all right, cool. I might be able to do that. What would you say? Because there might be somebody in the audience who's like, I got some money to kind of move around, trying to make my money grow and stuff like that. What are things that you personally look for to make sure that a deal is sound, whether it's real estate, like you said, drop shipping, or any business in general? I know it varies, but just at a high level, what are some things that you would look at?
One of the questions that my clients ask me is, would it be a deal that you would do? I look at the risk based on it. Not every deal is always the best deal. Again, credit is not much of a factor, but I still want to see your credit report. I want to see how you manage your money. I'm not saying that you have to be at a 700. I could be okay with a 600 or a 580, right? Because I understand some people went through divorce, right? They went through some hardship, but you have to paint the story a little bit more to me for it to make sense. I need to see your financials, so I may require, or sometimes my investors as well may say, hey, we want to see 6 months of statements. We want to see that, maybe this might be a new project, but let's see if there's some consistency with you, right? If there's been a drop. And sometimes if I'm still a little risky, I might ask for collateral. What do you have that I can take? That in case you can't pay this back, I feel confident. Not everyone. Sometimes if you're a returning, a recurring client, I'm okay because we've done deals before. But if you're a brand new client, I don't care. Go call your grandma, bring the title to me. And I hold on to that title because I'm the middleman until the deal is complete.
So you're a very successful young man.
I appreciate it. I try.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So in reaching, these different levels of success, how would you say you have overcame levels of adversity? Prayer.
It's never easy. I was telling somebody earlier, I think I fired myself 3 times. Sometimes we're harder on ourselves than anything, but that's how it's supposed to be. We got to always put ourselves as an employee as well and see if you hired yourself, are you doing the right thing? But we come across challenges, but I say, prayer that has definitely kept me, glued. Always, having accountability partners. It doesn't have to be a mentor. It could be any one of y'all. That's, hey, Joel, how's your day going? Like, what have you done? It's 12 o'clock. One of my guys used to tell me, I would call him at 10 o'clock and one of my guys used to wake me at 6 o'clock in the morning. He was like, hey, what's going on? And, of course, I'm like, man, I'm just waking up. He said, man, the day's over. It didn't click to me what he meant. And he was like, listen, the reason, and then after we was working on a deal together and I was like, man, really hard on myself. He was like, man, you remember when I used to call you all the time? I said, man, you waking up so late. The day's over. He said, listen, by the time you got up, I've already closed 2 deals. I've already had my coffee. I've already done this. He said, the people that's successful is already up at 5 o'clock. I don't give a damn what time you go to bed. We got to be up and grinding. You know what I'm saying? Give you enough time to make mistakes and find out how to recover, And then that's that point. It's like, man, that's a lot of people's getting into success is that make sure that no matter what, sometimes I'm going to bed at 2:30, but I make sure that at 5 o'clock I'm up and grinding and figuring out what's the next move.
Is that 5 o'clock 7 days a week?
7. Well, sometimes definitely on Saturdays too. If not, I'm working out. I'm getting my workout. That's what gets me going. it gets me like while I'm in the gym, I'm like locking in and thinking about the next deal, you know? And so the gym became therapeutic as well.
Yeah,
I lost over 100 pounds through the gym. You know? Yeah. Appreciate it. But it was that thing. It's just like, you know, mastering the mundane. The simplest things, man, we just making sure that we keep on top of it. It's not easy, but the accountability partner goes a long way. You know, we may not have our mentor to talk every day because, of course, they busy.
Yeah, they busy.
You know, I can't call my Haitian sales, hey, man, can we just chat? He'd be like, bro.
That man a voice message. He might get back to me 3 days later.
Yeah. And then that's understandable. You can't be mad, though, because their time is money. Yeah, they're splitting that time in increments to everybody else. But I could find you and say, yo, it could be a text like, what's going on, bro? What you done today? We could be in 2 different industries. But just you by saying what you done, and I'm telling you, bro, I closed 1 deal. Bro, I closed 3, bro.
How do you find accountability partners? Finding
people that's better than me.
I love that, bro.
Yeah. And sometimes it doesn't have this, but someone that's still had that drive.
Got that hunger.
Yeah, if you see that person like, yo, they may not have like clothes, but they're like, bro, I'm doing my best. It's encouraging.
Another one, you talked about, not being too hard on yourself. How do you extend yourself grace?
Man, that's the hardest part. I'm still trying to, figure that out. Sometimes we just got to take a step back and reset.
Yeah.
I've learned my biggest thing is saying no. You know, I overextend myself a lot. It's just I always feel like I could come to the rescue. I can make it happen. But then when you don't make it happen, people are looking at you bad, and then it's a judgment,
right?
You know, and people are like, dang man, I really thought, But sometimes it's overextending yourself. But sometimes you just got to be able to say, hey. No doesn't mean, no, it means like not now. Let's figure it out.
Exactly.
And I had to start to understand that.
Damn, was we raised by the same family?
Yeah.
That's crazy. I got another question. You said that you spoke earlier about your Haitian background and seeing your dad grind or hustle, right? Because that's what he had to support not only his family, but family back home as well.
Yeah.
And he spoke about having a child as well as yourself, right? As you were younger. So let me ask you, like, I know that gave you like an initial grind, but right. So, let me see. How can I ask this question? Right.
Take your time.
It's all good. It's all good. But like, that's coming from like your family coming from Haiti, as a lot of us know, Haiti. It's not in like the best situation right now, right? So, do you take pride in like I got to be successful for people that's back home, that may look at me, or for my own family that may look at me like, like we need like more shining examples of most successful people, right?
Of course. That's a phenomenal question. One of the biggest things that Haitians have a lot of pride.
Right.
Regardless if we rather do it on our own, even if someone is giving us a hand, we're like, we'll figure it out. It's because it comes back from, years when they was the first, the slaves to
the first, first people to revolt from the European.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they hold on to that, right? We've been, as you already know, I watched the news. You've heard a lot of stuff that we've been through, from the earthquake to the assassination of our president. It's like now with kidnapping, it's not the safest place.
From France still robbing you to this day.
Yeah. Like somebody could go out there, even me as a Haitian, I could go out there and then they kidnap me and call for ransom and call for $1 million. My family may not have $1 million to, to get me out, but it's because the poverty, a lot of, of course they've been through a lot. They have a lot of trust issues. So when us that's in the US, we don't know anything else. You see people come from the ground. And I think it was more of an eye-opener when back in 2014, I went to Haiti. And that's when I've embraced the culture more. I always knew I was Haitian. I was like, all right, cool. But I've always found it as an embarrassment more than anything. It's because like, it was never good things about us in the news. It was always bad. And when someone sees you and you say, I'm from Haiti, like, oh, I'm so sorry. So like people's feeling pity for you, but you know what I'm saying? It's like you got a bad kid and someone knows that your kid is bad. Be like, man, I'm so sorry you're going through this. It hurts you, But it was more of that pain. But when I went to Haiti in 2014 and see how they grind like never before, like I had the utmost respect for them. They made no excuses. Like people was like, how contractors got steel-toed boots. They had hard hats. These dudes were like walking barefooted, putting blocks and cements in a hot sun that's like, I'm telling you, like burning. They made no excuses with no water, no running water, or they would walk, miles, but they didn't make no excuses. that's when I said, you know what, that's where that drive comes from. I said, if they can't make no excuse, then we in the U.S., we got the running water. We got clothes in our back. You know, it's no reason why, you know, we have to complain.
We're westernized.
Yeah.
It's not just the women, but the men are westernized as well.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. We get too comfortable. But then, you know, to see my dad, like, he never complained. And my dad and my mom both had 12 siblings on both sides. So imagine, like, they're the only person that was in the U.S., so you're feeding 12 other mouths that has kids too, and you have your own kids still got to take to school. But they never complain.
Yeah, I was going to say that I noticed a lot of, like, my friends who are, you know, from foreign places outside of the U.S., their drive is different.
Oh, yeah.
And they hustle harder. They like, you were raised like, yo, we not taking that. Like, you need to get this going because I'll show you what you missing out on.
True.
I'll take you back there.
True.
And you're not going to want to stay there.
That's true.
And I was going to ask at first, I was going to ask, like, how do you stay motivated? Because I'm myself, like, I'm in a slump, right? Coming out of a slump where for the past 3 weeks, you know, I was waking up at 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, going to the gym. I still do it to this day. And I'll be there tomorrow, morning, 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning in the gym. But it got to a point that where, one, I'm blessed to be able to have my entire day done by like 11, 12 o'clock. And now it's that free time from 12 p.m. until 10 p.m. It's like, how do you find that hustle, that mentality, that grind, that motivation to find something else to do to keep at it for that entire time? That's a long time. It's 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day. And there's some people who just like, yo, I got all this free time. I don't know how to fill it. I've already done my top and most important things for the day. I've already done what I want to do for the day. Now what?
Yeah. Now, that's a very good question. The thing about it is a lot of entrepreneurs, we get burnt out a lot. So is learning to prioritize and finding a balance. You know, turning off the stuff and that's not as important, you know? And that's where it came out because sometimes, you know, we'll still be doing this stuff, but we still like to go out to the clubs, going out to stuff. Sometimes we have to cut back on certain pleasure, you know, just so we can focus on what's important. You know, the stuff that was costing us more money, you know? I'll tell myself because I say, you know what, I got to at least go on like 3 trips a year or whatever that is. But so I'd rather cut back on it every Friday night with the boys just so I can grind more. And then when I take a vacation, then I can rest and reset, you know? But it comes from really finding a balance, prioritizing. I used to plan out my...
I'm not going to lie. That was going to be my answer.
Yeah.
That word you just said right there, planning, bro.
Yeah. Planning is huge. So I used to plan day to day. I would wake up and say, well, what's next? What deals I got to close? I plan monthly. So I let my clients know. I say, hey, listen, you want to get on my schedule now because I book for a whole month, sometimes 2. When you're able to see your schedule, of course, now everything's digital, but it's good to also have a planner. You write it out and you see it as visual. But when a client sees it too, they're, oh shit, he's actually busy. They respect you more, you know, like a doctor, you know, like everything else, but it's just prioritizing, making sure if you know you're going to work from 9 to 5 you work for the man for 9 to 5, why can't you do it for yourself? Right. Straight focus.
All right. So let's get back to kind of real estate. I know we kind of move on different subjects. Let's get back to you say you dive into commercial real estate as well now. All right, so what kind of properties are you looking for? Like what do you look for? Well, first of all, let's go back. What kind of properties are you looking for, and how do you analyze a commercial property versus a residential property or just a regular real estate property?
Number one thing, regardless what it is, you want to make sure you find a good real estate agent that you trust, either as commercial or residential. Sometimes you get lucky, you know, you might find like a wholesaler or whatever that is, but I've been blessed enough, of course, through experience, is finding good agents that will making sure they look into my like looking out for me. But when it comes to like, you know, residential, I think I kind of also started in the Baltimore area. Baltimore is very tricky, as you know. You know,
Yes,
it's a hit and miss.
I know very well.
Yeah. So I think a lot of us had a lot of failures in Baltimore, right? Sometimes you think it's a win, but it ended up becoming like a nightmare. But that's where you have to find someone that's more knowledgeable about the market, helping you guide you to the right spot. Like not every deal is always the best deal. That's what I was told. And it's making sure it makes sense. And then once you could find that, there's certain numbers you got to run, how much it's going to cost you for renovation and stuff. Commercial is similar, right? But commercials, of course, is a bigger project.
Right.
And now you're looking to keep it occupied, but making sure it's consistent. So, which is what led me to my first project that I'm working with. Of course, it's a partnership deal. It's out in the Salisbury area. It's going for like 1.2 mil. It has some potential. It's been, vacant for 10 years.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. But it's seen opportunities that's going to make sense for the community.
Right.
You got to look at things on a bigger scale. First, when you're looking at a residential, you're looking to say, can a family live here? But when you look at a commercial, is can my business fit here? Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, because your business sometimes have to be in the right street, so that it can drive or draw the traffic that you need, right? Because certain areas you're like, oh, I didn't even know there was a Dunkin' Donuts back here because it's not in the right spot, and that business end up closing. But working in the banking industry too, I've been a little bit more, when I see a business fail, I try to not only I ask the owner what led to that, but try to see things in a bigger scope too. And like I say, sometimes I go on site and I look around, I say, I see why they fell. I mean, I tell them personally, but I could see, I say, your location is terrible. I see why you're not drawing. Or you off the highway, how do people get in? They're like, yeah, I maybe only had 3 customers today. That makes sense, So that's how, when you're looking in a bigger scope. I don't know if I answered that question.
No, it's all good. So when you say location, location is very important in both residential and commercial.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
What would you, because I guess we're getting closer towards the tail end, what would you, looking at everything that you have now, all your knowledge, all your wisdom, all your wins, failures, everything, lessons, blessings, right? What would you tell your younger self that if you were to stay on this path, things would have been a little bit different? Now, obviously, I'm not here to say you're living a life with regrets, but if you were to do something differently, what would it be?
Be very cautious of the relationships that you make, but also don't be afraid to take a risk. And another thing I would tell myself as well is keep God first. Which is the number one. Because a lot of times we kind of lose ourselves through the process. And sometimes we get that little success, we kind of forget where we came from, But we got to stay grounded. I think that's where it is. And sometimes, I've had, terrible nights, but through prayer and staying, consistent, in that process, I think God has definitely enlightened me a little bit, but that's what I would definitely make sure.
How do you keep God first? How do you keep building your relationship with God? And how do you, I guess those two, more so, just continue, no matter what, you always going to rely on God. God is always going to be the first person you go back to, no matter, the highs and the lows. Yeah.
I mean, we talk about a process, especially day to day. I make sure that's part of my process. Is to always start off with prayer. I'm very active also with my church. I always make sure if I'm not traveling or I'm, not doing anything that I physically go into a church, to be present, because I also see myself an ambassador for the community. Sometimes they need you to on something, and it's not that we go there to conduct business, but sometimes people they're praying for something, and here you are as a blessing, and plus there's a lot of keys, a lot of things that we talk about, the greatest people, they came from the Bible. That's the top people. But it's just making it part, staying in prayer, being part of the community, just showing my face and just be involved. I do a lot of stuff with the youth as well. I got a musical background because my dad being a pastor, that was one of the things. We didn't have an option, Right. So I was super connected to a lot of musicians, and that's how I was like, all right. So it was always my passion. But then again, when you start getting a little success, you start drawing away. That's what I would tell my younger self: just stay connected.
Okay. So I have a similar question to what Alex just said, but not so much yourself. But you say you have a child, right?
Correct.
So
3.
Oh, 3. Okay.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good.
So for say for your children, or just for anyone, say they're fresh out of school, or like, and they don't know what it is their purpose is.
Specify which school. High school, college.
Oh, my school. They're fresh out, like, say high school or college, no matter which one, because everyone's path is different after high school, right? And they're just looking for a roadmap, and they're looking for some advice. What advice would you give someone fresh out of high school or college into like to find their purpose and how to be successful?
That's a very good question.
I gotta say, you saying like purpose or passion?
I mean, passion, purpose, can they be interchangeable? Two
different things. It can't be the same thing, but two different things.
Okay. All right. So, what's their passion?
Yeah. I think it's, how could I put it? Everyone has something that they like.
Right.
Of some sort. It could have been video games, right? But, and who knows, you could be a whole graphic designer doing stuff, but it's more about asking them the right question. But what I would tell anybody, which I've even told my daughter, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to try something out and see if it works or not. Don't feel like you're stuck. And I think that's what it was kind of when I was growing up. My parents wanted me to be a doctor, and I felt like I was obligated because all they saw was like doctors and lawyers and, those type of prestige titles is the big money. That's the people that's successful. And so that was locked in my head. And then now I was beating myself up because I felt like this wasn't it, Right. But I would say don't do it for anybody. Do it for what's good for you. That's why I say don't be afraid to make mistakes, but more asking. And once you find, let's say, a similar passion, find someone that's in that industry and connect with them, as a mentor. Going back to that,
I got one. What's the legacy that you want to leave?
It's big. Wow, I've never been asked that question before, right? That's why I get so I'm impressed. Yeah.
Where you get paid that at? Dan sure ain't here.
Well, I know for 15% where I can get it.
Facts. The legacy that I want to leave is definitely for my kids. I want to keep my last name going.
Right.
Of course, everybody would like it to be the point that your kids never have to work a day of their life, but I want them to have their own drive and know that it doesn't come that easy. It's just financial success, financial freedom, knowing that we not only are we taking care of us, but going back to, us coming from Haiti, we're able to bless others. It's just a cycle that I want to, continue.
When you say financial success or financial freedom, what is financial freedom to you?
Financial freedom is when you can actually wake up and not say, hey, do I have to go clock in today?
Okay. So it's not like a dollar amount.
No. I mean, for some people it's comfortable with just $50,000 as long, it fits, your need, whatever it is. Some people wants $1 million. So everybody's has different, set numbers.
I was gonna say, I feel like you said it too. You just said like, after you're gone, your kids are good. They are able to continue the cycle that you had left. And then, you're able to take care of your people back in Haiti. I feel like that's his, financial freedom.
Yeah. All right. Alex, you have anything else?
Nah, that was great. I guess where can people find you?
So I am on Instagram. I Dream Wealth, my personal, but my business called SLZGlobal Group. S, as in Sam, capital Z as in zebra, capital L as in, lion, global group.
Okay.
So that's, .com as well as my website. So if there's anything, I can do to help, definitely reach out.
All right. I have one last thing.
Yes, sir.
Since you wear a lot of hats, is there anything specifically that you want to promote or touch on? Like, is there anything that's close to your heart that you want people to know about you?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I've been in the credit game for quite some time, and I understand that's a huge need, especially nowadays. So that is one of a service that I've been offering for years. So I have a team, that definitely works with me, helping our clients, get closer to financial freedom, when it comes to that. But also funding, that's another service that I offer, either personal or business. But yeah, that's just about it.
All right, bro. You want to close this out, or you want me?
Yeah, this normally we close it out where I'd give out this little rant and then just that's how you do OPA to OPM. Yeah. But this is literally the definition of turning other people's audience because you're in credit, you're in funding, you're in business, you're in banking, you're in real estate, you're in so many different avenues where you're using other people's audience and you're allowing that person to come to you, say, hey, I'm interested in doing this, or I need to do this, or I need this result. And you're able to then say, look, I can broker not just the deal, but life.
Yeah.
Right. Because you're teaching people not just money skills, but life skills.
Yeah.
You're teaching them about God, and you're teaching them about your legacy, about who it is that you want to be. And that's way more inspiring to a lot more people when they can relate to that.
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy of color, of a different nationality, of different financial background, who's doing so much, and you're able to still find the hustle, the drive, the motivation to keep going despite everything that there is, like in life, pushing back against you and stuff. And so that I think that this is something where it really highlights what the essence of this show is, where it's showing other people different avenues to lead them to their goals, to their dreams, and be able to live a lifestyle bigger than themselves, bigger than their families, and bigger than what they imagined possible. So that's really what this show is about, is just other people's audience to other people's money, and figuring out how it is that you can transform your dream into a reality. So I appreciate you, man.
No, I love it. And I thank y'all, gentlemen, for inviting me. I'm very grateful. But also putting this platform together, so we can, of course, get the message across. But I thank y'all once again for allowing me to be here.
Thank you for coming out. Thank you for coming out. Thank you. Appreciate it. Also, before we go, man,
hit the like button.
Hit the like button, subscribe button, and everything. And check out past episodes as well. We have some dope content.
Where can they find us?
They can find us at OPA to OPM, of course, on YouTube and Instagram as well. We'll be having probably do a LinkedIn as well pretty soon. I'll set that up. But I wanted to touch on something since you said about Haiti, right, and how they were the first, people to successfully revolt from their European captors. Every time you go to Paris and you see that Eiffel Tower, look that up. How that Eiffel Tower was paid for. It was stolen. It was stolen.
That's a bar.
The funds to build that Eiffel Tower were stolen from the people of Haiti.
Wow.
And never repaid back.
Wow.
All right. So when you go to Paris and you see a lot of that shit from France, excuse me,
Pardon his French.
Yeah.
Pardon my French. But yeah, a lot of stuff that you see, that European architecture was paid for by the blood of our people from Haiti. So just go look that up. All right.
History lesson from
I love it, man.
That's not how you use OPA to OPM.
That's how you steal. That's how you steal from color from the black folks. But I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Peace. Sapase.
Not boule. Love it.